where do I go? So, to the question of ever, I wonder what it is to I wonder what it is like to snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef ever cross your mind, or how camping in the outback of Australia would actually be like. Well, today I'm here to tell you and inform you about Australia and the different territories there are, and places that you must visit within those territories for the major site attractions. So first, we will explore the territory Queensland. Queensland's the yellow one right up over here, and this is where I studied abroad for a semester, and I got to go to two major site attractions, which were the Australian Zoo and Cairns. First, the Australian Zoo, which is known as the home of the crocodile hunter. The Australian Zoo is located on the Sunshine Coast, and the Australia Zoo is known as the home of the crocodile hunter, as I just mentioned, and that's referring to Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin was always interested in wildlife species ever since he was little. As AustraliaZoo.com stated, in 1970 the wildlife park was only 2 acres, and today it expanded to 1,500 acres and employs over 500 staff members. Steve Irwin died on September 4, 2016 when he was snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef, and he got hit in the chest by a stingray's barb. I visited the Australian Zoo and I was very impressed because it was very clean and there were a lot of different species. There were mammals such as foxes, giraffes, goats, koalas, lemurs, red pandas, Tasmanian devils, wombats, kangaroos, and rhinos, and there were reptiles such as boas and pythons, crocodiles, lizards, tortoise, and then there were a bird exhibit, but I didn't really go to see that because I didn't really care about the birds. The most exciting part of the Australia Zoo was probably being able to see the kangaroos, and I got there in an exhibit and you just open the gate and they're just everywhere laying down. And I got to feed the kangaroo, which was the best. And so this is a picture of me feeding a kangaroo. And that's the Australian Zoo. And on to the second site, which is Cairns. And Cairns is well known because that's where the Great Barrier Reef is. And the Great Barrier Reef is the largest coral reef. The reef contains an abundance of marine life. There's 15,000 species of fish, and it contains 3,000 individual reef system and coral cays. And the Great Barrier Reef is one of the 7 wonders of the world. And according to the GreatBarrierReef.org, it says that the reef is larger than the Great Wall of China and the only living thing on Earth that you can see from space. The reef is protected by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park, and they help to limit the impact of human use such as fishing and tourism. And I actually got to snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef, and it was amazing because everything was so colorful. Here in Hawaii, when you snorkel, everything's brown and kind of green. But the Great Barrier Reef was really colorful, and even though it was raining up at the top, when you went underneath it, you couldn't even tell that it was raining. And this is a picture. This is one of the pictures. And then this is little clownfishes like Nemo. And so that was exciting. And I already discussed about the first territory, which is Queensland. And so on to my second territory, which is called the Northern Territory. And that's located right where this brown thing is. Okay. And so in the Northern Territory, there's 2 major attractions, which consist of Uluru and Kings Canyon. I actually arrived in Alice Springs, which is a city in the Northern Territory, and it was a lot different than Queensland because there were a lot of Aboriginal people, and where I was in Queensland, there was a lot of white people, so it was different. And we're actually me and my friends were actually planning to go out that night, but the taxi driver could tell that we're tourists and told us that we shouldn't go out if we didn't know where we're going because they're the Aboriginal people. Some of them are very dangerous, and he took out his iPhone and showed us a picture of him, and he had like a black and blue eye from an Aboriginal person. So we actually didn't go out there, and the next day we went to Ayers Rock, which is also called Uluru, and that is this rock right over here. And this is another picture of it. And so Ayers Rock is located in Katachuda National Park. It's a sacred part of the Aboriginal creation mythology and is one of Australia's natural icons. Uluru is a large sandstone rock formation in Central Australia in the Northern Territory and is the second largest monolith in the world after Mount Augustus, which is also located in Australia. And between 1918 and 1921, large adjoining areas of South Australia, Western Australia, and Northern Territory were declared as Aboriginal reserves, sanctuaries for nomadic people who had no contact with European settlers. And in 1920, part of Uluru was declared an Aboriginal reserve by the Australian government. And when I walked around Uluru, I couldn't believe how big the rock was. From far away, it doesn't look that big, but when we went around the rock, and it took actually 2 hours to walk around the whole rock. And as I was walking, I noticed that there were caves, and inside the caves there was art, and they said that that art was from the Aboriginals, which were 10,000 years ago. So I thought that was amazing because it was still there today when I visited. And we stayed there till sunset, and it was amazing because as the sun was going down, the rock actually changes color. So it changes from brown to orange, and then I camped in the outback, so we woke up early in the morning, and then the rock changed, and it became red, and then as the sun comes out, it turns brown. And you are allowed to walk up the rock, but it's kind of forbidden because it's a sacred place, and actually we couldn't, when I went there, we actually couldn't walk on it even if we wanted to, because I guess a week ago a tourist went up the rock, and then his hat fell, or the wind blew, and he ran down, and then he actually died. So that's why we didn't have the option to. And the only downfall for walking around Uluru is that there are a lot of flies, and it was irritating. So if you do decide to go, you should wear one of those face masks because they're attacking you everywhere, and it's disgusting. And so on to the second main attraction in the Northern Territory is also, there's another formation called Kings Canyon, and it is one of the most spectacular sites in Central Australia. Kings Canyon is part of the Watakar National Park, and there are 3 different walks that exist at Kings Canyon. The 2 kilometer, approximately 1 hour Kings Creek walk traces the bottom of the gorge, and this is actually a picture of it. And so, as I mentioned, there are 3 different walks, and at the end of the walk there is a platform, and with views of the canyon walls above, and then there's also a 6 kilometer walk, and it's a 3 to 4 hour walk. And as KingsCanyonResort.com stated, there are a lot of ferns dating back to the time of dinosaurs that still exist today in Kings Canyon. And so and my third and last territory I will be discussing with you all today is New South Wales, and the 2 major site attractions, which are the Sydney Harbour Bridge. The bridge is a symbol of Australia, and it crosses one of the most beautiful harbours in the world. It opened in 1932, and it's the world's largest but not longest steel arch bridge. And to the locals, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is called the coat hanger, and it is sturdy but not stationary. According to bridgeclimb.com, it can rise or fall by 18 centimeters due to heating. And you are able to walk on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but I didn't, and there are 4 different ways you could. And on to my second main attraction in New South Wales, which is located, this blue icon right over there is also the Sydney Opera House. This is a picture of the Sydney Opera House. And this is, I did a boat tour, and this is what it looks like from the water. And then as you can see, this is the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. And the Sydney Opera House is a multi-venue performing arts center, and the Opera House is a masterpiece of late modern architecture, and it was created by Jorn Utzon, who understood and recognized the potential provided by the site against the backdrop of Sydney Harbour. So as I conclude my speech, after hearing about all of the major attractions in the 3 different territories of Australia, I hope you are inspired to vacation or study abroad in Australia. In Queensland, the major attractions were the Australian Zoo and Cairns, where the Great Barrier Reef is. And in the Northern Territory, you can explore Uluru, the rock that changes color, and Kings Canyon. And lastly, in New South Wales, you're able to see the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney